Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel for the fantasy adventure read aloud of A Book of Creation by yours truly. If you just found this video and you're just joining us, we're going into chapter 3 right now, so if you want, go ahead and click that link right there for chapter 1. To recap of chapter 2, Talia and Mathis headed off from the Tower of Ezail'Atten, made their way down into the cave system, ran across the broodmother crown worm, known as Ingrid. They all sped off on their way to a town called Ninhursag. Chapter 3, the Tower of Ezail'Atten. The year is 1032 by the nocturnal calendar, so we're in the past. Finally, the room sat quiet and felt a bit surreal to Elia. She sat dazed and numbed in her bed. Her long and thick dark brown hair lay matted with sweat and blood, and her porcelain skin grew paler by the minute. She had given birth, and her daughter, born with unexplainable marks, had been secreted away only moments ago. The last midwife had hurried off to get more help. Her gut stabbed at her. The warm moistness of her bloodied sheets had turned clammy and chill. Being alone made her feel even more uneasy, but now was the perfect time. She had to move out of the bed, but she was not ready to walk around. Beside the bed, on one of the nightstands, rested a book with a damaged title, Arts O. Azek. She reached for it and thumbed through to find something to ease her pain. After locating and reciting an incantation, Aaliyah found the pain eased away. With a deep breath, she strained to stand and winced with a sharp twinge in her hips. Across from the bed sat a mirror. With only a glance, it slid aside. Behind it sat a passageway that opened up into a vault for her riches. She made her way inside, and her eyes moved to a mound of necklaces. The hint of a wooden box peeked out from beneath. As she moved close to it, a wave of her hand opened it, sending all the jewelry toppling aside. Inside sat an enchanting solitaire made with a shard of hypnotic blue crystal, carved from a larger crystal, almost like a puzzle piece. It always dazzled her, but unless she hid it right now, Rias Ra, her husband, would find it, and with it, a heartbreaking secret. She could not imagine what he would do. Rias was far too rash a person. Certainly nothing good could come of it, and she could not have that. The past needed to be lost, and she knew just where to hide it. Weakened but determined, Aaliyah knew she must make it to the garden. As she rested on whatever she could find, the frail woman would take a few steps here and there, and then stumble to the next resting place with labored breaths. She made her way from her chamber doors to the hall and down to the end where a massive painting hung from the ceiling to the floor. Raising her hand to the frame, yet without touching it, she swung the painting forward to reveal another passage hidden within the walls. She slipped into the shadows. Through the walls and down spiral passages, the wary queen made her way, using the walls to guide her. Sight failed. With little strength left in her body, Aaliyah drew strength from the arcane to go on. Tapping into unseen energies, she struggled forward. It had taken most of Aaliyah's arcane power to reach the depths of the tower. Standing at the base of the stone stairs, amid the dark of the unlit passages, Aaliyah used even more of the arcane to break the seal of the large door that she had locked up so many years ago. Had Rias known that she was not in her chambers, he would have someone's head for letting her out. But should he find her here, he would forgive her in a heartbeat. Long ago, the burgeoning garden she planted at the south wall had started to grow beneath the tower, and Aaliyah helped it to live just by visiting. But this visit was not about living. The stone doors to the subterranean garden swung open with resistance as coils of ivy ripped away from the other side. Mounds of fungi and algae and overgrown tufts of nightweed were pushed aside. Aaliyah, tired and drained, used the last of the arcane within her, and the door slowly stopped, half-cocked, as her powers faded away into the nether, like a dandelion blown into the wind. Through the entrance, she could see into the glowing garden, and, with sheer willpower, she stepped out with a faulty start. But the climbing ivy reached out to catch her, and steadily she moved along. Finding her way through the years of overgrowth, she was amazed by the number of vibrant colors racing around the garden, from fanning mushrooms that lit up as she drew near and dimmed as she passed, to lichen that shimmered all around. The garden greeted her, and she could hear the plants whisper their praises as she walked through. But when she tried to whisper back to the garden, her lips cracked and hurt, so wistfully she held her silence. As she came to a spot in the garden beneath a blue glowing tree, she knelt and began to dig. Aaliyah's bones creaked and popped with quickly encroaching age. Slowly, she dug with every last bit of life left inside. Her skin had become so dry and cracked that she winced with every little movement, withering away and drying up like an old tree in a blighted forest. She wheezed as her breath slipped past splintered lips. She needed to ensure no one knew her secret, and with her child safely in the care of Tithia's family, only the necklace remained to be buried. Gannon had given it to her as a keepsake, a promise that he would be there for her, but it was over now. It was all over now. So she dug deep. Contented with the depth, she removed the necklace from her robes with it still wrapped in cloth and placed the item into a hole. But before she could even pull her hands out to start burying, she came to rest, and she did not move again. She looked like an empty shell of a person. Her skin had hardened to look like the bark of a tree and had cracked to reveal an empty hollow inside. The light that had filled her eyes faded to darkness, leaving only hollowed out holes. What had been her consciousness ghosted out of its shell. All around, the garden plants whispered her name and called out to her, but they all went unanswered. Slowly, the light of the plant life dimmed in sadness, and the plants around her grew inward to cover her and the hole she had dug. Aaliyah could whisper nothing in the darkening garden, but she did not need to. Her spirit called out to all the life around her, and, hearing her more clearly than they ever had before, the entire garden brightened, brighter and brighter until nothing but light could be seen. The only door into the garden slowly shut, sealing the area off, once and for all. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you enjoyed this, you can find your copy of A Book of Creation by Gregory James Gardner Jr. on Amazon Books. If you want to read ahead, that would be great. I would greatly appreciate you getting a copy. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to keep up to date. We'll see you next week with Chapter 4. All right, y'all have a good one. Take it easy.